I'm Jolene Nguyen, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 147, Do I Have to Forgive Him? I used to think of myself as the wife of a porn addict, but I do not think of myself that way anymore, and you don't have to either. In this podcast, I am going to teach you how to manage your mind and your emotions so that you can stop living your life around your husband's pornography addiction. I am going to teach you how to stop being the victim and how to conquer his pornography addiction, even if he never does. I'm Jolene Nguyen. I am a certified life coach, and I am a member of the LDS faith and the wife of a former porn addict. And this is a podcast for the porn addict's wife. Hello, my ladies. How are you? Happy Monday. How are you guys doing? I feel like I haven't given you guys a life update in a while. Maybe I have. I don't know. Life is, I feel like I'm living out of a suitcase. We moved maybe 5 weeks ago into our new house, which is amazing, but we don't have any storage in our new house. There's no built-ins, there's no storage. So I feel like I'm living out of a suitcase. Our toys don't really have an organization spot yet. We just bought shelves for them, but we haven't built the shelves yet. And we bought shelves to go in our garage, but we haven't installed the shelves yet. And so everything is just kind of out. And I feel a lot of anxiety, ladies, which is not a normal emotion for me. I'm not an anxious person. But one thing that I feel like I have anxiety about is when stuff is not where it's supposed to be. I don't like that. I normally have a very organized, very clean house, and I feel like my house is like dirty and everything is out and it's driving me crazy. But it is slowly but surely going to come together. And this week, you guys, my fingers hurt. Do you guys want to know why? Because I'm turning into my dad. This is why. It's because my husband and I decided when we moved in here, our house people, the people that built the house, had laid down some sod. And I don't like the kind of sod that they laid down. It is, if you guys know what Bermuda grass is, it's terrible. It is rough and coarse and it sheds. So my house, when the grass is dormant, just is full. It comes in on everybody's shoes. And then my house is full of grass. Like, I can't stand it. And it feels like dry straw when you're walking on it. Like, that's not what grass is supposed to feel like. So we decided that we wanted to buy some better grass and put it right around the house. But we said, well, we have this sod, so we should use it. And so we have been ripping up very gently so as not to break it, the sod that the builder had laid down, and transplanting it into a different portion of the yard. And I am sore in so many places. Like, I work out every day, but oh my gosh, I'm hurting in muscles that I haven't ever used. My fingers, my forearms, you guys, it is bizarre. My calf muscles were so tight, and I put high heels on today to go to church, and I was like, oh dear, my calves hurt like crazy, and they did the whole time, but it was totally worth it because my shoes looked amazing, which, if you guys know anything about me, I don't know if you guys know this about me, for all my new listeners, I love shoes and I love high heels. And it's one of the beautiful things about being married to my husband is he's very tall. He's 6'3", and I'm 5'8", which is above average, but I get to wear all the high heels I want, which is wonderful because I love shoes. So I have iron feet, you guys. I will suffer through lots of pain in order to wear beautiful shoes. So I did that today, and church was great. And my shoes were amazing. So it was totally worth it. Anyway, that's what's been happening here. We've been transplanting sod. My kids started soccer, and my two girls are at school, which started a whole new schedule for us of waking them up at 6:45 every morning and doing drop off and pickup. And it's 20 minutes away. So it takes about an hour and a half, just over an hour in the morning to do it. And then it takes about an hour and a half in the afternoon, just with how long it takes to get through the pickup line. And so that's been doing things. I feel like I haven't gotten into a routine. Do you guys know what I'm saying? Have you guys ever moved? Is this just me? You guys, I feel like I'm going crazy, but it's been great. And I love our new house, and I love living next to my twin sister. And we have just this amount of space and yard and acreage in between the two of us that has just been fantastic. Our kids just run back and forth between the houses every day, and it's just a blessing. It's so wonderful, and I'm so grateful to have it. It's just amazing. So that's a little life update for y'all. I also was just in California for a week for a business mastermind. I told you guys that last week on the podcast. It was amazing and incredible, and I am starting to venture into Facebook ads. I hired a coach who is helping me. She's actually a copywriting coach, and so she is helping me get a Facebook ad up and running, which should be up and running this Friday, you guys, and I am very excited about it. So that is something I'm working on this week. I can't wait for you guys to see it. So that's going to be so fun and scary at the same time. There are so many things about running a business that I don't know, and I'm excited to start learning it and to keep growing and to bring in that 100 women who are ready, and I'm going to go find them. And this is partly how I'm going to do it. So I'm very excited about it. And one other thing I wanted to let you guys know is I am teaching a How to Forgive masterclass. You guys know I've been doing these a little bit. I've been doing coach weeks. I did How to Trust masterclass in the fall. I just did a Confident Sexuality masterclass. For those of you guys who were able to attend those, you guys know how incredible those were. They were 4 days of teaching and coaching related specifically to the topic that I had chosen. So these are the biggest ones that I see that are holding people back from moving forward. And this is the next one. So I am teaching How to Forgive masterclass. Now, I wanted to up level the content and material and the coaching that we were able to do. So this is a clients only masterclass, but that's not a problem because you can just join and become a client and then you can have access to it. Okay. So if you want to come and you want to learn how to forgive, if you haven't forgiven your husband yet, then I want to encourage you to come join my program and come join it before this masterclass. That way you can attend it live and get coaching specifically on this topic regarding what it is that's what objections you have, what's holding you back, the things that you're struggling with forgiveness in particular. Now, if you don't get to make it live, that's no problem. It's all recorded and housed inside my coaching program, so you get access to that once you join, whenever that is. If you're listening to this 6 months from now and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed it, you still can watch it. You just go online to jolenewind.com. You can sign up today for my lifetime access group coaching program, and then you will get access to all of the call recordings, okay? But if you are listening to this in real time, then I would encourage you, again, to go to my website, jolenewind.com, and go sign up today. You get lifetime access to all of my material, and then you will be able to come to these calls live. We are going to be talking about what forgiveness is and your personal struggles and objections and the things that are blocking you from forgiving or figuring out if you even want to. Okay? If you do want to forgive him, then I want to teach you how to do it. Okay. And I'm going to talk about this over the next couple of weeks on the podcast. But if you really want to take it and apply it, then I want to encourage you to come join coaching, because that is how we do the application part. This podcast is great. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But it's all about the podcast is kind of where you learn what to do. And the coaching program is where I teach you how to apply it in order to truly transform everything in your life, to really start taking a grip and moving forward rather than taking this piece by piece. Joining my coaching program is where you start to apply it in order to just skyrocket, in order to take everything you're learning, and rather than doing it on your own at a snail's pace, this is when we just rocket launch you forward. So again, that masterclass is going to be at the end of March. Those calls are going to be March 27th through the 30th. So if you guys join now, you will get access to that and you will be able to come join us live. So I can't wait to see you there. All right, ladies, today I want to talk about, do I have to forgive him? If you guys haven't already, I would invite you to pause this episode and go listen to episode number 53. It's called Forgiveness. And in that podcast episode, I dive into what forgiveness is. And I'll do a little background here, but that will be a really helpful podcast episode to do or to listen to first. You can also listen to episode number 24 and a half. It's not labeled that, but it's in between. It's a bonus episode in between episode 24 and 25, and it's called My Journey of Forgiveness. So if you go listen to episode 53 on forgiveness, then you will have a better understanding of what I'm talking about when I'm sharing my personal experience of forgiving my husband, which is what that bonus episode is all about. And it's very personal. I'm giving you a personal experience of what that looked like for me and how I did it. And I would encourage you guys to listen to both of those. And then you can always come back to this one. Now, if you want to just stay here and go listen to those ones later, you totally can also. But it's just a good one in that forgiveness when I'm talking a little bit more deeply about what forgiveness actually is. So you can go listen to that. Today, we're going to dive into a little bit of that and then dive into, do I have to forgive him? Okay. So let's talk about what forgiveness is first of all. Okay. So I want you guys to just ask yourself, what does forgiveness mean to you? And you can just pause and give yourself an answer. What do you think forgiveness is? What does it mean to you to forgive someone? What does that look like? Okay. Pause and really think about it for a second. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the dictionary and I'm going to go to the word forgive. And here's what it says. Forgive is a verb. Ladies, did you know this? That means it's an action. And it is to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, a flaw, or a mistake. Okay, I'm going to read it again. To forgive is to stop feeling angry or resentful. That's what forgiveness is. It's a verb. You have to stop. You have to cease and desist an emotion. Anger and resentment are the reason you haven't forgiven. Isn't this amazing? I'm going to talk about these in later podcast episodes, but I'm just doing this brief definition here. To forgive doesn't mean, when someone apologizes, then you move forward and you say that's okay. It doesn't mean you condone it. It doesn't mean that you're okay with it. It doesn't mean that you forget it or that you say that it didn't hurt or that you overreacted. It means you stop feeling anger and resentment. Now, anger and resentment are just emotions. Okay? They are physical vibrations that you feel in your body. Anger feels a little bit different than resentment. Resentment feels a little more gritty. It feels a little more self-righteous. It feels a little more vindictive and bitter. At least to me, it's a little harsher of an emotion often. Anger can feel very good. Resentment feels a little more heavy. Anger can feel very, very good. Anger can feel very active. It can feel very motivating. It's very energizing often. We have a lot of blood pumping. Your blood is circulating. Your heart is pumping, right? You have a lot of adrenaline often with anger. It can be a very appealing emotion to sit in, to stay in, often because usually we think that we are in the right and the other person is in the wrong, okay? Now, forgiving, if you'll notice, doesn't say anything about the other person in here. It doesn't say that he needs to say sorry, and it doesn't say that he needs to grovel or do actions X, Y, and Z in order for you to forgive. Forgive is something simply about you and your emotional state. It means you stop feeling angry or resentful. That's it. Now, if you know how to process your emotions, then this becomes very simple. But for those of you who don't, for those of you thinking, well, how do I do that? How do I stop feeling anger? How do I stop feeling resentful? If our emotions come from our thoughts, if our feelings come from our thoughts, then all we need to do is figure out the thoughts that are creating the feelings. I'm getting a little ahead of myself because we're going to talk about this in the next couple of podcast episodes and in the How to Forgive Masterclass. But I want you guys to keep this in mind as I talk about this today. Okay? Do I have to forgive him? Have you guys ever thought that? Should I forgive him? I've heard this several times. I'm like, do you want to forgive him? Yes or no? Well, I feel like I should. Okay, well, what if you didn't? I have talked about this with trust, and I'm going to talk about this with forgiveness. Ladies, I give you permission not to forgive him if you don't want to. Honestly, it doesn't affect him as much as it affects you. Because if forgiveness means to stop feeling anger and resentment, then if you choose not to forgive, which is totally fine if that's where you are, then all that means is you continue to feel anger and resentment. That's it. It's very simple. It doesn't mean that he gets to keep doing what he's doing. It doesn't mean that you have to move out. It doesn't mean that you're going to get divorced. It doesn't mean that your marriage is doomed to fail. It doesn't mean anything except that you continue to feel some emotion. And that's it. So ladies, I want to encourage you to ask yourself this right now. I did this poll on Instagram. This was fascinating. I'm going to talk about these in the next couple of episodes. But I did some polls in my stories on Instagram. I said, the first question that I asked was, Do you want to forgive your husband? And ladies, I want to ask you that right now. And I want you to give me your gut check answer. Okay? It's going to be yes or no. Okay? You have to force your brain, yes or no. And I don't want you to talk yourself out of whatever comes up first, but your initial gut reaction, that's what I want you to go with. Okay? So I'm asking you, do you want to forgive him? Yes or no? What's your initial gut answer? For a lot of you, it's yes. The majority of women that I polled on my stories, it was like over 70% said, yes, I do want to forgive him. But there were a lot of women who said, you know what? No. And that's totally fine. What I want you to do, what I don't want you to do, is try to talk yourself out of it, because this is often what we do. We think things like, well, I should forgive him, or, well, and for many reasons, it might be, well, because I'm supposed to, because that's what we need to do as being married, or if I don't, then that means that we're not going to stay together, or I need to be a good person, or our brain wants to take into account all of his positive behavior. He's trying really hard. He's saying all the nice things. He's going to therapy. He's doing all the work, blah, blah, blah. Or our brain wants to go to the opposite. Our brain wants to say, no, he's not doing all of those things, so I'm not going to forgive him. I don't want to. Now, wherever you are, ladies, I want to encourage you to just sit with it. Whatever that initial gut answer was, yes or no, then just sit with that and let go of all the judgment, all of the shoulds and the shouldn'ts and the have tos. Let them all go. And just sit with it. Do I want to trust him? Yes or no? Or do I want to forgive him? Yes or no? And just sit with it. And the answer might be yes, and the answer might be no. And I want to encourage you that whatever answer you have right now, I want you to know that you don't necessarily have to stay there. Now, here's what I want to encourage you to look at is what that means for you. Often we think that withholding forgiveness from another person is somehow going to affect change in their behavior, right? That's typically what we want. We want to not forgive someone in order for them to understand and appreciate the depth of their betrayal, the depth of the pain that they've caused us. We want them to know that they've hurt us. We don't want to forgive them because we don't want them to think that we're past it and everything's fine and they're allowed to do whatever they want without any consequences, right? That's what our brain thinks. Our brain thinks that if we forgive them, then it means it's all fine. And it thinks that if we don't, it has this sneaky idea that somehow it will prevent him or influence him to change his behavior. That is not what it means. Ladies, if you remember, if you go back to the definition, forgiveness means to stop feeling anger and resentment. That's it. The only person who is directly affected by your forgiveness is you. You don't even have to tell him you have. You don't. You don't have to tell him you forgave him. That's it. Forgiveness isn't for him, ladies. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is a gift that you don't give to him. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. It's a gift of saying, I don't have to feel anger and resentment anymore. I'm allowing myself to let it go. I'm freeing myself from the constraint and the binding of these emotions, these negative emotions. And I want you guys to really think of this. When you have anger and bitterness inside of you, how do you show up? How does that affect you? Because it does affect you, ladies. When you're feeling a lot of anger and bitterness, what do? How do you think? How do you talk to your husband? How do you talk to your kids? How does it come out in your attitude and in your behavior and in your mental capacity and your emotional capacity? It takes a lot more energy, ladies, to hold on to negative emotion than it does to let it go. I promise you. There is so much freedom that comes from forgiving, not because it changes the other person, but because it allows us to let go of that emotional baggage that we've been carrying around, the emotional baggage that is draining us from having the energy to handle what's going on currently. Does this make sense? Now, again, do you have to forgive him? No, but let's look at why you don't want to. And do you like those reasons? Again, this is a decision that you get to make. I'm not going to make it for you, but I want you to understand what it means to forgive and what it means not to forgive, and then make the decision from that place. And also understand that if you're in a place right now where you say, you know what, I don't want to forgive him right now, but I don't know that I want to stay here forever, then I want to encourage you to be very aware of that and accept that. And know, ladies, that wherever you are right now doesn't mean that you have to stay there. And if you want to change it, you can. All you have to do is learn how to manage your emotions and process them. And if you don't know how to do that, I would highly encourage you, I can't stress this enough, to come coach with me. I will teach you how to do this, how to process those emotions, how to let go of that emotional baggage, how to move past that anger and resentment and actually move forward from it. Not just try to think your way out of it, not try to tell yourself that you're fine with it or that you're past it or that you're no longer angry and upset. Not just to tell yourself that, but to truly feel that way, to actually feel that way. Does this make sense? So do you have to forgive him? No, you don't. But I want you to ask yourself, why do I not want to? And is that an answer that I like to keep? Is that actually going to produce the thing that I want it to? What am I making that mean? And do I want to keep that? Do I want to stay here? Or am I willing to shift and make a change in my life? Do I want to be free? Here's another way of asking it. Do you have to forgive him? No. Do you want to forgive him? Maybe. But here, let me ask you this. Do you want to be free of anger and resentment? Because that's what forgiveness really is. Again, it has nothing to do with the other person. It has nothing to do with him changing his behavior. It's not dependent on his behavior, ladies. This lie that we have, that forgiveness and trust and communication and connection are all dependent on what he's doing, is a lie. It is not true. He doesn't have to change in order for you to feel better. Why? Because your feelings come from your thoughts, not from his behavior. He doesn't have to apologize. I know, I'm going to talk about it in a couple weeks. I know. I hear it all. I hear all your objections, okay? He doesn't have to apologize. Why? Because even if he did, you still have your thoughts about it that are going to create your feelings. And this is the best news ever, ladies, because we do not have to have our emotional capacity, our emotional state dependent on our husband's behavior. And thank goodness for this. This is the best news I could ever give you, because our husbands are pretty terrible at managing our emotions. Like, can we just be frank? They're so bad at it. If they were good at it, then none of us would be here. None of us, I wouldn't have had a podcast. My husband wouldn't have done all these things. Your husband wouldn't be doing all these things. And you would be feeling great because he would be so good at managing your emotions. He cannot do it. It's impossible. And when he tries, he typically fails miserably, right? Am I right? I'm right. Okay? So I want you guys to hear this as it is. This is the best news ever. He doesn't have to change in order for you to move forward. That anger and the resentment that you're holding on to doesn't have to stay there. You can forgive. All it takes is letting go of the anger and the resentment. And if you want to, you can. Do you have to? No. But I want you to let go of what you're making that mean. Step one that I always teach is awareness. That's why I asked you that question. Do you want to forgive him? Yes or no? What's your initial gut check answer? Step number 2 is acceptance. Accept it. Let go of all that judgment of what you make it mean, of if you forgive him or if you don't. Step number 3 is when you process all of the anger and the resentment that you've been holding on to. We let go of all of the emotional baggage so that we can start moving past it, which is step 4, which is when we start retraining our brain to choose a new thought pattern. We literally rewire your brain neurologically. We retrain with different neural pathways, new thoughts that we think on purpose, intentionally, in order to produce a different result in our life so that we don't keep bringing back anger and resentment in order to hold on to it. Do you have to forgive him? No. But if you want to, that option is available to you, and I can teach you how to do it. Come join me in the How to Forgive Masterclass. You can go today to jolenewind.com, sign up for my lifetime access coaching program. You will be there inside, and I can't wait to teach you how to do this so that you can finally be free of that anger and resentment. I love you ladies so much, and I'll see you guys next week in a brand new episode. So take care. Hello, my lady. I wrote a book, and I would love for you to read it. It's called The Not Enough Wife, and you can get it on Amazon today. This book is for any woman who has ever felt like she wasn't enough, not enough as a wife or as a mom, if she didn't have Instagram worthy enough pictures, if she didn't throw Pinterest worthy parties, if she ever felt like she was not enough, this is the book for her, and it's for you too. So go to Amazon today, go search up The Not Enough Wife by Jolene Wynn, and grab a copy for yourself and for all the women in your life. I hope you love it, and I can't wait to hear what you think.